Good to have you with us on this Monday edition of Schultz News and Commentary. At the end of the day, there's a vote. There's a lot of wrangling going on back and forth, but the final vote, there's always a final vote in the legislative process. And in the final vote, where did you stand? So this is something that plays into the debate last night between the two Democratic candidates. Let me first off say, for the Clinton people to come forward and try to present to the hardworking blue-class workers of Michigan that Bernie Sanders was against the automobile loan program, or as the Republicans like to call it, the bailout. It wasn't a bailout. That money's been paid back. In fact, the United States Treasury made money on that move. So let's just get that fact out there. But for the Clinton campaign to make the case that Bernie was against helping the automobile industry is outrageous. You want to use the L word? Go ahead. Disingenuous for sure, misleading for sure, and it certainly is not the truth when it comes to the final vote. At the final vote, when all of the crap from Wall Street was stripped out of it and the money was standing alone for the automobile industry to recover, Bernie Sanders was right there. And I guess, you know, as a Democrat, as a liberal, and as someone who certainly does not want any of the Republicans anywhere near the Oval Office, I have to ask you the question, how do you digest this? I have a hard time digesting that. This should not be a win at all costs. This should be the best for the American people. And when the Democrats collectively voted in favor to save the automobile industry, which was well documented in the 2012 campaign when Obama ran for re-election and the way it all unfolded, this shouldn't be a fight amongst Democrats, nor should there be any accusations. But the Clinton camp is so uptight about their connections to Wall Street. They're so uptight about being pressured on why the speech material is now campaign top secret, and none of us can know what she said to any of these Wall Street barons. This is what it evolves to. This is the exchange last night in the debate when they were talking about who supported the automobile program.
If you are talking about the Wall Street bailout, where some of your friends destroyed this economy,
you know,
excuse me, I'm talking.
Let him run. If you're going to talk, tell the whole story, Senator Sanders.
Now, there's something else that has evolved out of this. There are some in the feminist movement in this country who think that he was being sexist by saying, excuse me, I'm talking. Well, you know what? It's rough and tumble politics, you know? And when you got limited amount of time and you want to get your point in, this is the way the vernacular is going to unfold in front of people sometimes. There's a couple of issues here. Number one, the Wall Street money that has been taken by the Clinton campaign and the super PACs is really eating away at their core. They know that there's a lot of Democrats and liberals in this country that ain't buying it. And what they're buying is the purity of campaign reform which Bernie Sanders has put out. But trying to hang this on him that he didn't support the workers in Ohio and Michigan with the automobile loan program, I just find it completely outrageous. That and so much more to talk about. Let's go to Katrina VandenHeuvel. She is the editor, part owner of The Nation magazine. Katrina, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Ed.
Your thoughts on how this is evolving. It was much more pointed last night. It was contentious at times.
Yeah, the race is getting tougher and rougher because Bernie Sanders has shown strength in ways that surprise the Clinton machine. I mean, you just look at one measure of viability in our country's political reporting. I've never loved it. Is, you know, how much money you're raising. And Bernie Sanders, we can all chant $27, but you know, his small donor fundraising juggernaut has taken on the big money fundraising machine of the Democratic Party. But you know, Ed, I think Senator Sanders might have been better prepared. This is a tough campaign. Hillary Clinton is a tough campaigner. She's a tough debater. We saw that, and you could argue the DNC made a really lousy pick in holding off Democratic debates, letting the Republicans pollute our airways for too long without a response. But, you know, Sanders is a consistent champion of working people.
She's
supported
lucky he's
good trade policies for decades. And yeah, we should relitigate the 90s, because she kept saying last night, Ed, let's look forward. Well, how do you look forward if it's not informed by the past? And Clintonomics, come to thenation.com, check it out. Robert Poland wrote for us in January. Clintonomics was a disaster for most Americans. Under Bill Clinton, and Hillary Clinton invokes her husband's economic policy all the time, saying it's terrific. Wall Street created a ruinous bubble, partly through the deregulation, Glass-Steagall repealed under the Clinton administration, while workers lost wages and power. So that needs to be stated. And Bernie Sanders was on the case then, and he was on the case with the auto relief. He just didn't like it larded with billions for billionaires, as he said last night. But it was a tough exchange. She came well prepared, loaded up, and I think he sees now, if there's a debate Wednesday, he's got to be on his mark and game.
Well, my point is there's always the final vote. In the final vote, he was there. And for her to present to the American people that he wasn't is not truthful.
It wasn't true. And that's the work we do to remind people. But Senator Sanders, also needs to remind people very clearly that he was there. And he does so in different ways. But last night, that was not a pretty exchange. But, again, I come back. You have someone who was, in Senator Sanders, a consistent champion of fair trade, not corporate trade policies. And we're witnessing not just two individuals on that stage, Ed, you know this, but it's really two wings of the Democratic Party.
Sure it is.
But you know what's good? Movements and Bernie Sanders' candidacy have moved Hillary Clinton to be a stronger candidate on issues which, we know she has not been strong on, whether it's trade, whether it was speaking as she did around the 1994 crime bill, which was asked repeatedly. People should check out Michelle Alexander's article at thenation.com, which really brought to bear the history from those years, and not to endorse Bernie Sanders, but to say we need to remember where we were as a nation and how we can be better. But to deny Bernie Sanders that he was there first and foremost is wrong history, wrong politics, and I think damages our Democratic process.
There's no question. Katrina VandenHeuvel with us, editor-part owner of The Nation. Stay with us. We're right back with some more issues and answers as far as the debate last night and this campaign. This is brought to you by Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, the iSave team, and PillPack. We're right back. I recently discovered PillPack. It's a full-service pharmacy that takes care of everything for me. They pre-sort and deliver all my medications and vitamins in easy-to-tear packets, labeled with the date and time for each dose. Their pharmacists are available 24/7, and they manage all of my refills. They'll do the same for you. They even made sure my insurance was compatible before they transferred my medications over. It's unbelievable how much better my life has been since I switched to PillPack. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
Hey folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegoted.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today. So I guess you could parcel out answers. The environmentalists are probably wondering, is this good enough? This is the exchange last night when Hillary Clinton was asked about her connection to hedge funds and fracking and how she feels about it and the way it's being used in our environment.
I don't support it when any locality or any state is against it, number one. I don't support it when the release of methane or contamination of water is present. I don't support it, number three, unless we can require that anybody who fracks has to tell us exactly what chemicals they are using. So by the time we get through all of my conditions, I do not think there will be many places in America where fracking will continue to take place.
My answer is a lot shorter. No, I do not support fracking.
Now, Katrina, I have opinion on this exchange. Hillary Clinton left the door open for chemical companies. She left the door open for water to be contaminated. And I guess Bernie gave us an absolute.
Bernie was simple. He was short. He was to the point. He showed again why people support him. There's an authenticity. There's an integrity. He is untethered and unmortgaged by big campaign contributions from chemical companies or corporations. And we have a major investigative report by Bill McKibben of 350.org, serious environmental writer, coming in the next week or so about methane, which is at the heart of fracking, and how methane is perhaps more dangerous than carbon dioxide and greenhouse emissions. So Bernie Sanders is with the science. He's speaking truth to power. And to his credit, he has elevated, as you know, Ed, climate change as a major issue facing the country and a national security issue. The media may diss him or treat him as a not serious person on national security, but he is very right and in sync with Pentagon and National Security Agency reports about climate as a national security threat.
So how do you break out the weekend? You have Bernie Sanders winning Maine, Nebraska, Kansas. Bernie said last night in the debate that they had record turnouts for Democrats in Nebraska and Kansas. Hillary wins Louisiana. She takes most of the delegates because of her lopsided win in a southern state that the Democrats aren't going to win anyway in the general election. So
you're heading into Flint. I think it's the biggest delegate stash. And it's important because, for all the reasons, that debate was so important in industrial heartland. It's a test of Bernie Sanders' ability to speak to the white working class and the African-American community. And I think he's shown his strength not only among millennials, who the commentators like to diss as not reliable, but among white working class people in this country of extraordinarily important constituency. Maine was amazing. Lines snaking out half a mile or more. He still needs to show strength with African-American constituencies, but you're right, Louisiana ain't going to be in the Democratic roll book come the general election, nor are the southern states Secretary of State Clinton took. So I think it's complicated, but you need to bring the white working class and millennials Bernie has a real lock on, a stronghold on, into a fusion with African-Americans. I think Bernie has shown strength with Latinos and younger generations across the board. So we'll see. And I just would ask the media, you don't do this, Ed, but don't lump in the superdelegates. Put the superdelegates
That's
to the
a different
side.
category in a different world.
Absolutely.
That's the cash-whipped crowd. That's the politically cash-whipped crowd.
But it makes Bernie Sanders look like he's really deeply trailing when it's not. It's not the case.
All right. Final point I want to make on, and my wife and I were talking about this. I've spoken at conventions. I don't know, countless conventions. Over the years, I've never thought that a transcript that I've had couldn't be published.
Mike,
what's the big deal? Why?
I think the big deal, first of all, Secretary Clinton has backtracked. I think she backtracked last night. Everyone had to release everything before she was
let me interrupt here, Katrina. If I were to run for office someday, and I don't know if I will, But I'm saying that you could pull out the Steelworkers script from 2012. I got no problem with it. That's the point.
You know what, Ed? First of all, you should run for office. And I hope Bernie Sanders and the momentum behind his candidacy and movement leads lots of people across this country to run for office and really give the Democratic Party a good shaking. But, come on, we know why. I mean, she was speaking to major multinational corporations, who, by the way, are sitting in Washington right now working with corporate Democrats to pass a real rip-off, $400 billion tax break for multinational corporations, as William Greider at TheNation.com reports. But, she probably said, "Hey, Lloyd Blankfein, how's it going? Love you," at the top of these speeches, and it's going to fuel the view of her as someone who's tight with these corporations. And I guess they're going to keep it tamped down and fueling another view, which is lack of transparency and the problems with her trustworthiness. But I think it's a bad strategy, and I hope the Clinton campaign reconsiders.
I'd like to see them. I mean, I don't fault anybody going out and making a dollar. I don't. I mean, they obviously, she's got some star power. It may be in a different way than the other candidates, but the fact of the matter is that if they want to pay her that, it's a free market, it's a free world. But the fact is, she must have made some kind of commitments to these Wall Street barons that she doesn't want out on the campaign trail. Certainly not before Super Tuesday or Super Saturday, and she's going to have to do it after or before the convention, because if she gets a nomination and she releases this stuff after the convention, who knows where it's going to go. So, Katrina, always great to visit.
Thank you, Ed.
I appreciate
Run for office. An additional kudos you do. Okay.
Let's not get carried away, but thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, Katrina VandenHeuvel, editor, part owner of The Nation magazine. I'm Ed Schultz. This is Ed Schultz News and Commentary. PillPack, Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSafe team bring you this production. We've got a lot of stuff on our website at WeGotEd.com, RingOfFireRadio.com, and also rawstory.com. We're back tomorrow.